Hello and welcome to Out of Britain with me, Radhika Iyer. With the sight of these beautiful lights and the red buses, you would have guessed, of course, that I'm coming to you from London. From London to Prayag. On this very special episode of Out of Britain, I transport you to the magical land of Kumbh. It is that part of the year in January when the three rivers which are the lifelines for India, Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati, confluence in one particular spot. It is quite fairly a large spot, and millions and millions and millions of people travel to just see it, observe it. Some take a dip, some others just make a prayer, some others just go there to experience that culture, that tradition, and just the Indianness that it has around it. The Kumbh Mela, as it is called, and a Mela translates to a fair, is an exhibition of India's strengths in crowd management, India's strengths when it comes to bringing 1 million people together. On this episode, all about the Kumbh Mela, which is the world's largest human gathering. I have with me Ketki, Chetrali, Betty Fernandez and Ajay, who've joined us here. Ajay Prakash, thanks for coming. They've joined us here to give us messages on the Kumbh Mela, and I've just learned that none of you have been there, but some of you desire to be there.
Yes.
What's your close connection to Kumbh Mela?
I think that because I've lived in Nasik, where Kumbh happens every 12 years, I think I know what happens when a lot of people come in together, and I see the celebration of culture and spirituality. And it's a great connection that one can find if one needs to really immerse themselves in the culture of India, because it's one of the largest congregations in the entire world.
Of course. The world's largest religious event, but also the world's largest human gathering. And what a better place to speak about it from Big Ben in central London, which is again such a pot of many cultures coming together. Thanks for sharing that.
So Kumbh Mela is actually once in a 12 years.
Yes, that's the Maha Kumbh.
Maha Kumbh.
Yes.
So my thing is like after 12 years, you never know. So it's better to visit this year.
Go as soon.
Yes, go now.
Why would you go?
First thing, it's all about cleansing your, like they have got beautiful story of Maha Kumbh. Shall I share it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so see, basically scriptures said Danavas, like demons and gods, decided to churn the ocean. And they churned the ocean. At that time, 14 kings came out from the ocean. And one of them was elixir of life, that is nectar. And of course, nectar, they started Amrit. So they started arguing, and they want to, both of them
Everybody wants Amrit.
Everybody, yeah.
Yes.
So they wanted to grab it.
Yeah.
And in that Amrit was in one kumbh. Betty ji was asking about it. Why kumbh? Like a pot.
Yeah.
So that pot started shaken up, and a few drops of Amrit fell down on 4 places.
Yeah.
Those 4 places are Prayagraj,
Yeah.
Haridwar,
Yeah.
Ujjain, and Trambakeshwar. So this year it is Prayagraj. And that's
Thank you for sharing that. And of course, that beautiful confluence of Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati.
Yeah.
Such a pretty sight of just when rivers, anyway, a river makes our heart very happy. But when 3 rivers meet, it's such a confluence, such a pretty sight. If you had a chance to go to Prayag, why would that be?
See, Prayag, I consider that first thing from the scriptures, it is the oldest place. That means recorded even into the Wensang time, 700 BC. And then after that also, it has the significance of that. It says that it's a place where largest congregation happens. That's one thing. But on top of that, I see it as a dharma, artha, moksha, kam. Yes, the satisfaction, the kam is that I went there. My ego is satisfied that I wanted to do something. I did it, right? So that's the kam. Artha part is the largest economy that it brings to. Like last time it has 4,000 crores government invested. And that gave the government back 1.5 lakhs crores. That means almost 30 times what government invested. On top of that, it gives the millions of people jobs, millions of businesses getting revived, So that's the earth part of it. Yes, the dharma.
Thank you for sharing that,
Yes.
because it's also a great place for consumerism, brands. They have such visibility
Temple
there.
economy.
Yeah.
Temple
Great.
economy.
Boosts the economy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, go on.
And so dharma, earth, moksha, kam. So I told you about the kam, then I told you the earth going the reverse order. Then about the dharma, what dharma says that whatever you do good for the society, for the humanity, that is what the dharma means. Yes. So I am big fan of Sanatan Dharma, not Sanatan as a religion. Religion means a sect, while dharma means
The way of life.
The way of life. Yes, so I support the way of life. And whatever goodness it brings, that I told you about the calm, I told you about the earth, that it brings the livelihood of the people, yes? That's nothing can be better than that. So these are the elements, earth, moksha. Ultimately, when every desire is satisfied, what do you want? You got the moksha.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, my ultimate desire is go deep inside the dharma formula, and that's why I'm
You would
going
like to-
this time.
Oh, you are?
Yes, I am going this time. I made a program, so Kumbh, I'm coming.
Okay, from London to Prayag. Okay, Betty, thank you so much for joining us. Betty Fernandez is a non-Hindu, but she's amused by the Kumbh. Share with me what your thought is.
Yes. According to me, and as I was reading about Kumbh, it says, in Sanskrit, it says it is a pot of water or a pitcher. And it also resembles the zodiac sign, a woman with a pitcher of water spilling out water. And that is what my zodiac sign is. I'm so pleased to hear that, to read that. Yeah. So in my thoughts, it brings me that a kumbh, in every woman, there is a kumbh which brings a new life. It starts from the very concept when a woman is pregnant and the womb evolves there, and it is a bag, it's a pot which bursts and a new life is born.
Yeah.
And that is the kumbh. Yeah. I feel that in every one of us there is a kumbh. In reality, in terms of our life, our living, it is a symbol. It symbolizes in each one of us we have the kumbh inside us.
The sights of the Kumbh Mela are something to remember, reminisce for years and years. I had the good fortune of meeting Amar Grover, a British journalist who has traveled to India at least 30 times and had the opportunity in 2001, several years ago, to be there in Prayag, in Kumbh, experience it, witness it, and these are some of his observations. To discuss the Kumbh Mela, if you asked travelers, they would give you a different story. If you asked religious people why they went to Kumbh, they would give you another story. But if you ask a British journalist what the Kumbh Mela means and what the experiences was about the travel, they'd give you different stories. And that's why I'm here meeting with the very tall and someone who's matching the Big Ben almost, Amar Grover, who is a well-known travel journalist. And if you put his life or his days in India, covering India, it would span to be 3 years, right?
At least.
At least
3 years.
Because he's visited India for travel journalism about 30 times.
And I've lived to tell the tales.
And you do. So when did you go to Kumbh Mela last?
So I was in Kumbh Mela. The one and only time was in February 2001. And I believe at the time, according to the newspaper reports, it was the biggest gathering of humanity for common purpose. And I was there for 3 days, and it was absolutely unforgettable. The most colossal event you could imagine, with millions of people. And there was so much happening from a kind of spiritual, religious, commercial, entertainment, and just sheer human spectacle point of view. Absolutely the most remarkable event I think I've ever been to, in India and anywhere.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Amar. You went there 23 years ago.
Yes.
Close your eyes for a moment and tell me the 4 or 5 images or visuals that come to your mind from 23 years ago. What are those unforgettable moments from the Kumbh Mela?
There are so many images that I still have from the Kumbh. Ones that stand out are the pontoon bridges crossing the rivers in a kind of misty dawn light, with pilgrims carrying bales of clothes and bedding on their heads. I remember some of the Akara sadhu camps with one sadhu in particular who'd been holding his hand aloft in the air for something like 20 years, and his wrist was withered, his hand was dangling, and this was his form of penance. I remember being staggered by the sheer organisation of the place. I mean, you have to remember that on the most busy bathing day that I went, there were 12 million people bathing on that one day. And probably over the course of the month, there were 50, 60 million pilgrims, if not more. So the sheer organisation of the place was staggering.
And the logistics of handling such a large event.
Yes, and when I look back at it, it was an absolute miracle. I found where I was staying, which was a relatively new tourist camp. I managed to find my way to this place, and I still wonder how I did it to this day.
Yeah. Tourist camps, thanks for mentioning that, because experiential tourism in India is increasing beyond those usual golden triangles such as Agra and Delhi and Jaipur. And Kumbh is becoming a matter of interest for many, many people, for non-religious purposes as well, just to experience culture, tradition, and just see what a fascinating event the Kumbh Mela is and what global footprint it attracts. Today, after 23 years of covering that, of being there, of visualizing that, do you think there's more appetite world over in the world of tourism to attend events such as this and also perhaps share a coverage?
Well, festivals are a big draw to any country, and I think in the Indian context, probably in the global context actually, you're never going to find a bigger festival anywhere in the world than the Kumbh Mela. And I mean, some writers say that India at heart is still a sort of living classical civilization, and I mean everything about the Kumbh Mela just reflects that fact, for the spirituality, the millions of pilgrims. So for sheer spectacle, in the Indian context, I think there's no other event quite like it. It's a bit crowded though, so you've been warned.
Thanks Amar for joining us, and that of course was Amar, and hopefully you got some glimpses through Amar's journey and experiences of the Kumbh Mela. From London, I'm coming to you from Greenford area, Sri Jalaram Mandir and Community Centre. Look at that building behind me. It has been rebuilt since the year 2000, and this is a place, particularly on Thursdays, when a large gathering from the Hindu community attends this temple to make a prayer, to meet the other, and mainly to share a meal. With me is Councillor Raj Kirya, and with me is Vice President of this temple, Shenil Hirani. I'm going to go across to you first. What we are doing here, Councillor Raj, is to discuss, to decode this phenomenon of Kumbh Mela, which happens every year, but once every 12 years is the Maha Kumbh Mela. Have you managed to attend it? If yes, what is your thought? And if no, what is your thought?
First of all, thank you very much for inviting us. It's an honor.
Well, you have invited me. This is your temple.
It's Jalaram Bappa who's invited all of us.
True.
I've actually personally not ever visited Kumbh Mela, but there is some significance here, which is Jalaram Bappa himself, in fact, visited Kumbh Mela. And this is the connection we have.
Yeah.
And this is what brings us together.
Yeah. True. So Jalaram Bappa was a saint in the state of Gujarat, and there are many temples which celebrate his legacy, and he was known for distributing food. The one thing he did was to cook food every single day and distribute it to a lot of people, and this temple does the same. Give food to anybody that enters the temple. Thanks so much, Shenil, for talking to us. We're talking about millions of people attending this Kumbh Mela every single time. Thursdays is very crowded here.
It is, yeah.
Tell me about the crowd management.
I mean, I would say for us, we are visited by thousands of people every week, not just on a Thursday, but a Saturday. We have events throughout the week, but Thursdays and Saturdays are our busiest days.
And are these mainly British Hindus or people from other communities as well?
A lot are British Hindus. There are also a lot of Hindus who have come over from India more recently, and they do visit us. So it's a mixture of British-born Hindus and also a lot of Hindus from India that have migrated over. And it's a great place where people can come together. We're very much about community. As you said, Jalaram Bappa's ethos was to feed people, and that's exactly what we like to do. We give people the opportunity to come together, to pray, to have a meal. And as you said, with Kumbh Mela, how many millions of people come. It's genuinely, it's an inspiration for us, because we have, for us, crowd management here with a few thousand people, sometimes we get stressed out. And when we think of the fact that Kumbh Mela has 220 million people attending, it takes a level of organization which I think it's hard for most organizations to even comprehend.
Sure.
So it gives us inspiration to know that anything is possible.
Absolutely. You had some interesting fact about millions. Go on.
Well, I just want to give you some comparison here. So if you compare the population of United Kingdom, which is approximately 69 million.
Yes.
And if you're telling us that in 2019, Kumbh Mela was visited by over 220 million, that's 3 times United Kingdom's population. And you're talking about crowd management. This is only God who can manage this.
That can happen only in India.
Yeah. But also, can I just add something? Jalaram Mandir Grinford is known as the Virpur of Europe. This is why it is important that we are here today.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks very much for sharing that. From London to Prayag, that's what we're discussing at this special episode of Kumbh Mela. I met a young professional in central London to ask him what and how he related to the Kumbh Mela, to the phenomenon of the Kumbh. Let's listen in. I'm coming to you from the heart of London, where professionals meet, in Liverpool Street, crowded, buzzing, really alive. But this is nothing compared to the 220 million something people who are going to gather at Kumbh Mela, the world's largest religious gathering, the world's largest human gathering. To discuss just the phenomenon of Kumbh Mela, I have with me someone like Dhruv Chatralia, who's taken a wee 5-minute break from work. He's someone who does for a living law, but has written 21 books on Hinduism, living here in London. And Dhruv, from a young man such as yourself, a Londoner, a British Hindu, a British Indian, a British Asian, decode this phenomenon of Kumbh for us.
Thank you, Radhika. I was born and bred in London, so I grew up far away from India, but very close to Indian culture through my parents, through my grandmother, who always ingrained Indian cultural values to me through stories and through books and so on. And Kumbh Mela, I've always known as the largest religious gathering in the world, the largest pilgrimage. It's bigger than all other pilgrimages combined. So what it involves is very large numbers of spiritual seekers, yogis, sadhus, babas, from all other confluences from India, from rivers, mountains, forests, come together and discuss profound spiritual topics ranging from yoga, Vedanta, Vedas, Upanishads, Tantra, and just have the most profound discussions and spiritual practices. So people from all over the world are very thirsty for spirituality, and they spend thousands of pounds traveling to meet spiritual gurus. But here you have the greatest of all gurus in one place.
Coming together.
Which is such an amazing thing. So it's a huge burst of spirituality and a very profound event. And it occurs where the Ganga and the Yamuna meet. So India is known as Sapta Sindhu, the land of the 7 rivers. Of these, the Ganga and Yamuna are the 2 most sacred. The third was Saraswati, which is dried up. But where they meet is a very, very sacred place where the Kumbh Mela takes place. So it's the center of the Indian civilization, these 2 rivers, of all the commerce, of the spirituality and so on. And countless yogis and sages have attained enlightenment meditating at the bank. So it contains very, very powerful vibrations for people to meditate and be there to perform their spiritual practices.
Amazing. Dhruv, is it a discussion during the Kumbh itself at workplaces? Do British people share interest? And if yes, tell me what it means to you, and does it make you proud, or does it affect you in any way?
Yeah, it makes me very, very proud. So the British people, I think they only see the sensationalization of it in the news, where there's lots of yogis and babas doing like a lot of supernatural things, but they don't understand the essence of it, which is the spirituality, which is a confluence. The Kumbh means a gathering, a large gathering of great spiritual teachers and seekers. So the whole purpose of this is to elevate the planet, to elevate spirituality, and you only get sensationalized sensationalism reported in the media. You get various kind of educational institutions trying to collect data to create divisions in India and find fault lines. But the key thing is to ignore this sensationalism and this data gathering and focus on the spiritual aspects of it, because it's been around for thousands of years. It should be a topic for discussion everywhere, and it should be a topic for discussion on things that elevate us rather than bring us down.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks
very much. With me is Malati Devi Dasi, who is a disciple of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder of the worldwide Hare Krishna movement. You happen to be passing through London, so I'm very, very fortunate to catch a few minutes of your time here in the Watford Bhaktivedanta Manor. Such a beautiful, such a large temple. And take us through your experience of visiting the Kumbh Mela almost more than 50 years ago, 5 decades ago. Take us through that. And was Prabhupada with you?
Yes, he was. So a smaller version of the Maha Kumbh Mela takes place during the month of Magh, which is December, January. And in between the grand melas, the big ones, Kumbh Melas, which are every 12 years, there's a smaller version, and it's still of considerable size. It's called the Arad Kumbh Mela. So in January 1971, a smallish group of ISKCON members, and by smallish I mean by comparison to nowadays, we were a handful, and we arrived by train and buses. Srila Prabhupada arrived by train a few days later with the Zen entourage. And we were surprised by the appearance of Radha Madhava brass murtis who were being carried on the head of coolies. So these beautiful brass murtis of Radha Madhava were carefully worshipped during the entire time we spent at the Mela. We had designated pujaris. There was artis, bow offerings, daily bathing and dressing. And this was in the confines of a tent in the freezing cold. It was amazing. So even though we were in India, generally known for its hot climate, it was bitterly cold. And we weren't really prepared for that. Meals were cooked over wood fires for ourselves and for mass distribution to the pilgrims, and never denying anyone a plate of hot khichdi prasadam, or cut up guava, or occasionally some simple halwa.
Yes. And isn't that also the significance and the beauty of it, that no matter how many people show up there, there's always food for people. And 53 years ago, food was cooked on wood fires. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. Thank you. That's a wrap on Out of Britain. I hope you enjoyed watching the show. Next week, I'll come back to you with another conversation which I hope you relate to. These are conversations which matter to us, which are about literally anything that connects the diaspora with India. And if you have experiences to share, if you have a trip that's in the offing, share those with us because we'd love to hear. Till I see you next week, take care. Goodbye.